And I think that creating is a spiritual thing anyway. I like to say, like, when I create, I vomit. I leave it all on the canvas. So whether that be my expression that is coming from within inside of me, or if it is a plight that the people around me are suffering and going through, I am leaving this on the canvas so that later on in life, when people look back at this art, they will see. It'll be almost like how it was on the pyramids, right? Mm-hmm. The writings. Those are the type of things and the type of, the type of energy that I want to always be able to bring out in my art. And so I understand that when I am making these things, am I awakened? No. But I understand that the words that I am putting on this canvas is powerful. I understand that this image is something that someone is going to look at, relate to, feel good about. I did a piece, a mural in Westville, and it's a little girl with bobos. You know, that was something that I grew up with. Despite how masculine I may present now, right? Mm-hmm. That is something that is still very nostalgic and home for me. I was working with some kids in Hartford recently, and I showed the little girl the piece. She said, "Oh my God, miss, that's how my hair is," right? How often does she get to say that when she walks anywhere in this world? How often will she be able to feel joy in looking at an image that is like, wow, I look like that. That's me. That's pretty, right? Because now she's not only looking at something and saying that's pretty, she is looking at herself in a way and identifying and then telling herself also that she's pretty. So it is just a full circle moment. She is feeding, I am feeding into the art is feeding into her, and then this will in turn feed into something else and go further down the line. So it is like a spell.
When you talk about the spells, and so part of that piece, I saw a lot of your work in where it was futuristic, it was the old spells, it was old trauma, and he talked specifically about these enchantments and these secret societies and spaces in the writings and understanding the language. Like when I watch your piece, I see language that previously wasn't written, but it was only here to be understood by a particular group.
Okay.
So I would say like when we see particular signs like in on-campus communities, and it says like if it has the three smiles, which folks understand in certain societies there would be three heads monkeys, and this is a sign of a particular space.
Okay.
This is an entry door. This is a welcome, but this is a message.
So, do you want to know about those three smiles?
I'm with it.
All right. So, specifically, those three smiles are about literally, like, I don't know. Do you guys remember, like, when we were going through this whole, like, what do we rate life, ghetto, right? So, it was very much so, like, a really emotional moment of mine. Like, I am going from this, what woe is me, right, to this, like, actually, this in-between emotion is like, but then I get to the place where I want to be because I work through all of these other things. So now I am blessed to be able to receive the rest of this. And so the gratifying, the last smile is that gratification. That is that place that I've worked. I've gone through the ookie, the mid, all of that stuff. And now I'm like, what's up with y'all? I'm smiling, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the ebb and flow of life.
So I think even looking at some of the pieces that I've seen now, and even the one that you're creating now in the live art, there is always a story to not tell a direct story, but almost like I can act from the artist's perspective, but it's relatable to some degree.
Right.
Is that an intentional process?
It is very much so.
Or are you just naturally relatable?
No, I feel like what I like to do is, again, I just play on the things that are plaguing society, whether they are trauma built but I want them to be beautiful, right? I like to think like often when we think about black things and when we're in black spaces, nobody shows it with beauty. It's either with trauma or pain of some sort, but where's the beauty in that? And so I like to think that these things, these experiences that we can all relate to, I like to find the beauty in those things. And also when I create, I don't often like to tell what my vision was of a piece because it's irrelevant. This is just what I was feeling in this moment, but I create to make people feel. I aspire to inspire. So my thing is to simply, once this is on the canvas, what is your interpretation of this? Mine was what it was, but what is yours? Because I understand that it could be completely different from what I thought or felt. Because colors for you do something differently for me based on if I'm in this mood versus you being in this kind of mood. I'm at this phase of life, you're at, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can take a quote and look at it and it means something completely different now versus 5 years from now.
I love the way you position that, and I think I do a good job asking good questions. What does it mean for you to be able to cut through the danger?
It means for me to move blindly, to be able to have faith, to be able to get up every day when I don't want to do any of this stuff, right? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to smile at people. I want to create. I want to make art, and then I want y'all to buy it, right?
I got
But
you. I got you.
In the in between stuff that has to happen, I don't want to do that stuff all the time. But I recognize that if I want to be in a certain place, I have to walk through this fire, so to say.
So, and I asked that question because everybody, what does it also mean, not just in your artwork, but sometimes this is kind of like that mode operandi, is like this is kind of how you move. What does it mean to even how you develop the skill, but the fact that this is a skill that I have and I articulate that in my work? Because it's not you're not just doing it in the work, you're actually doing this.
I don't know. I feel like, you know, I always say, and shout out, my mom is my hero.
There we go.
Shout out to her. I always feel like she was way ahead of her time as far as just like how I was raised, right? She was strict. And also, though, she was open to hearing what I had to say. If I wanted to sell lemonade in a snowstorm, she was going to make sure I was bundled up and selling this lemonade and making money, okay? Mm-hmm. Baby, now you know this is going to be difficult, but I ain't going to say you can't do it. And so that is just like my outlook. Nothing is supposed to be easy. Nothing I really want anyway is going to be easy for me to get. Anything easy that I've attained, it was even easier to walk away from it. So it didn't mean that much. It didn't hold that much with me. So I just feel like, you know, being raised by a black woman, I like to say single black woman, it gave me a sense of resilience. It was a notion that I didn't have the opportunity to sit in whatever it is that was happening. If this is happening, okay, acknowledge it, feel it, understand why you're feeling this, and now what are we going to do about it?
And obviously, and I told you in the beginning, like the relatability to the work, even the new stuff you're working on, and just catching about what I consider like from someone on the musical side, we would say, this, I can see the soundtrack of my life if you watch my playlist as I progress, and what my top 10 is and my top 50 are, and when I first downloaded it, and I can tell you can see where I've been.
Yes.
What does it mean for you? And I'm just pontificating. If I lined up everything you created, any of the stuff that you're working on, what are the lessons that are taught? Because I think your work always tells a lesson, as I'm just saying and introduced to it.
I think that it touches a lot of different things. I think that first and foremost, being the oldest child, I had a lot of responsibility.
Shout out to the oldest children.
Often I feel like sometimes my work can be really bright and playful because that's the part of me that didn't do that. This is me, and so keeping my inner child alive is important to me. I think that it shows that I am black, and that means something. It's not just a skin tone. It is something that we go through. It is who we are, but it is a way of life. It's so many different things, and so I think that in every phase of my life, my art kind of shows that. My art shows heartbreak. I got 2 breakups up here right now.
You want to point them up?
Well, so this bottom one on the heart right there, that's when I initially started the phases of the face, because literally that's how I was feeling. But that was an easy breakup. But when I get to like the one with the record player, the one with the TV heads stacked on top of each other, Those are pieces that, for me, it was a distorted love. I was broken. I was trying to figure out where I was coming from and where I had landed. You know what I'm saying? And also recognizing like who I am again. And so me watching me. So I'm on TV, but it is my story. It is my vision. So however I move forward from here is really up to me.
I gotta box this question. So you said something like more fascinating, where it's like not just being able to watch yourself on TV, but using your artwork as these visual depictions of struggles that you're having. How do you process that as the person and the one that's experiencing? Because I think when you said in the beginning, you said this thing about the progression of the smiles and recognizing that the move through and the smile is the deserving, and is actually this is the dessert after I made it through.
Yeah.
But sometimes did you create the work at the time when you were going through, or after we got to the final phase?
So I feel like, right, this breakup, I was mad emotional. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, Lord, save my heart. All of that kind of stuff. But in the thick of it, I think that I went through an up and down. I went through, but I also went through what I recognized and was grateful for was growth. I was grateful that while being with this being, that I could no longer be in the same space that way with them anymore, that I was still able to have lessons. I was still able to move forward with pride. I was still able to move forward like, yes, I learned that. And also, I know this about me now. Feel me? Because I also could recognize it was moments that I might have been lost. I might have just been watching my life and not living my life. And so, that's where the screens come in, because this is me living it. And now I'm watching. It was me watching it before. Now I am doing both. I am not only doing that, but I'm giving it to the people around me.
I think your work does a lot of healing, because honestly, I give the metaphor of like, I'm looking at a picture of you upside down, but you still 10 toes down, be able to stand on this piece. But other individuals we kind of just know they cannot live in that space when it is upside down reality.
Yeah.
How do you help them? How does art become a moment? Obviously everybody has their own medium of healing and process.
Yeah.
But I think that it resonates with me in terms of some of the things that are happening. Maybe it could just be me, but recognizing I've seen myself upside down, but I still was able to be present to kind of create this beauty or stability.
I wanted more for self. I wanted more of me. I wanted to experience me again. I began to miss me. I began to yearn for me and the things that I wanted to do. And that meant touching canvas. That meant taking a moment and sitting in silence with myself. That meant being okay that sometimes I was good shit, and also other days I was not shit. Like, whoo, okay, right? But let me leave that right there, because now I see and now I can move forward. Because, my past is just my past, but where I'm going is most important. I feel like when I had no voice, or I chose not to use my voice, that was an option because it was for me. I feel like with the platform and with who I am, that is not an option. I have the ability to either build someone up, to bring light to what is happening, or to do both. But to do nothing is not an option.
When I'm fascinated by the conversation, and I got to leave some on the table for the podcast, but I'm fascinated because when I asked you the question, what does it mean to cut through the danger, you knew exactly what that meant.
Because I remember walking around the danger. I remember trying to climb over the danger. I remember trying to jump or swim below the danger. That shit don't work. You have to walk through it. If you do not go through it, and this is 2 years of therapy in, if you do not go through it, my friend, you will keep hitting the same wall at a different rate, different environment.
And so I asked that because in the bio, you spoke specifically about New Haven as a space of triumph and tragedy. and that's what made me think kind of the cut through. And so those that have we've been close to the work, close to the city, like homegrown. We've known each other for a while. Just being able to see that progression, but also that maturity in terms of personal growth, that we also have aspirations for what we want the community to actually be.
Yeah.
So the conversation we're having right now, we've never probably had a conversation like this in general.
No.
But known each other, but to be able to do that and to see like this is kind of what the city could be, and not have to cut through this other thing. That even being able to, like, this moment is created to be like, I'm seeing the artwork, but also seeing the person and saying like, but we probably could have had this conversation separately and be like, yo, we've both been in the same spots.
Yes.
And been completely twisted. That's why I use Lovecraft as a moment, because when you talked about the bows in the movie, those are the jigaboos, and they turn into demons.
Yes.
And so you start feeling, now I'm twisted.
Yes.
And I'm seeing the pieces, understanding how the relationship played out. You are a twisted individual, and I'm like, I know I'm a good though.
Right.
I'm a good person though.
So that piece right there, that's what that talks about. It is the transformation. It is me being ripped apart. It is pieces of me being broken, and I am still remaining whole. It is still distorted, but I am still here. I am still whole. I have learned. I have experienced. All of these different things now.
Because that's why it made me think when I saw that. I was like, that's related, because it also spoke to the soundtrack. It's like
of life.
I kept playing the same song.
Yo, yes.
The same song kept playing.
Yes.
And I'm like, what's going on?
Look how long it took me. I went from whole to being fractured to understand that the track was playing, but the needle was dull. But my social media is Martian Art, MARSHUNART. You can also find me on my website, samething.com. Peace.